Hello and welcome to this Tuts Plus live stream on creating a child theme for WordPress. My name's Rachel McCollin, and in this course, in this live stream, I'm used to doing courses, this is just my second live stream, so you'll have to bear with me. In this live stream I'm going to show you all about child themes, what they are, when you can use them, and I'll give you some examples of code you can use to make child themes work for you. So let's have a look at the details of what we're going to cover in this course. Firstly, we're going to look at child themes and what they are. So what the difference is between a child theme and a normal theme. And I'll also talk about parent themes, which is something that you need to go with your child theme. I'll discuss when you use them and when the best time is to do that, how you create a child theme, and I'll show you the code you need to add to do that, how you add functions to your child theme, and how you can override any functions in the parent theme. I'll then show you how to add styling to your child theme, which will override any styling in the parent theme, and finally how to add a template file. And if we've got time, I'll run through how WordPress picks which template file to use in your parent or child theme. So during this course I'm going to be showing you some code, but because we're live, I'm not going to take the risk of actually live coding on air. So what I've done is I've prepared some code for you, I've commented it out in most places, and then I'll uncomment it so you can see it actually working. So let's start. Oh, the other thing to let you know, is that I'll be pausing for questions every 15 minutes or so. So when we get to the end of each of these sections here, I'll take a pause, I'll take your questions, and Adam, my colleague at Tuts Plus, is going to send those questions through to me. I'll be looking at them on a little screen here, and I'll answer them if I can. Now what's really useful is sometimes I can't answer questions. I don't know everything, or it might be that because I'm sitting here, it's just not coming into my head right now. If you've got answers to questions as well, please speak up, because we're all part of a community here. So let's start with child themes and what they are. So here's the Wordpress Codex page on child themes. So it says that a child theme is a theme that inherits the functionality and styling of another theme called the parent theme. Now, the difference between a child theme and a parent theme is that any theme can act as a parent theme. Some themes are designed to act as parent themes. If you've ever used a theme framework, you've used a parent theme. Some themes aren't designed to be used as parent themes. However, you can still use them as parent themes. And the best time to do that is if you're working with a third-party theme, and I'll show you one over the course of this live stream. You're working with a third-party theme and you want to make some tweaks to it. Now, if you want to change a theme, that's all well and good, but when you update that theme in the future, any changes that you make to the code will be lost. So there really is no point in doing it. You're going to lose all your hard work, and if you don't update the theme, you could lose any functionality or security improvements from that update. So the way that you tweak a theme is by creating a child theme for it. And that theme then becomes a parent theme. Now, your tweaks don't have to be major. If you're working with a theme framework, it may be that your child theme has a lot in it, because some theme frameworks are designed to be quite minimalist and not include a huge amount. And then your child theme layers on a lot of the styling and functionality on top. But if you're just creating a child theme so that you can tweak a third-party theme, a theme that you've downloaded from somewhere like Envato or from the WordPress theme directory, then you might just add one or two little tweaks, which is what we're going to be doing today. So this WordPress Codex page is a useful source of information on child themes and how to set them up. We've also got some useful pages on Tuts Plus right here. So you can see here there's a basic post on a tutorial on creating child themes in WordPress. We've also got creating child themes for your WordPress theme framework. Now this is one I wrote a while ago, which was part of a longer course I did on creating a WordPress theme framework. And when you create your own theme framework, if that's how you want to approach theme development, you would then use a child theme for every theme that you develop using that framework. And that's how I work. I have a single parent theme that I call my framework. It's got lots of hooks in it. It's quite minimalist in terms of styling. It's got a little bit of layout styling, hardly anything in terms of colours or design or visuals. And then for each client site that I develop, or each site I develop for myself, I will create a child theme, and I'll add the styling and the functionality that I need on top. So today we're going to be working with a theme framework that you can download here from the Envato Market, from Theme Forest, and it's called Richter. And there'll be a link to this in the show notes afterwards, in the live stream notes. So this theme I've chosen because it's a nice minimal theme that's quite straightforward in terms of getting to know the layout, understanding how it's coded, and adding some custom code. So I've spent a little bit of time working with this theme, getting under the hood, working out how it works so that I can create a child theme for it, and then I can add my own customizations. So let's take a look at the code. So here I am in Coda, which is the code editor that I use. Now, I've got two themes in my themes directory in WP content that you can see up here. First is Richter, which is the theme. And you can see there's a whole bunch of files within Richter. It's quite a big theme. So it's got assets in here, which we'll be referring to. It's got lots of template files such as category, home, index, page, and so forth. And it's got other files such as templates, which are used as include files within the theme template files. It's got it's got some extra functions files here for the theme, and it's got some framework files. So it's designed to be used as a framework. In fact, it actually comes with a child theme. So let me start by showing you the child theme and the code within that that's necessary to create that child theme and set it up as one. Now I'm going to assume that you're working with a different third-party theme. You might be working with Richter if you want to follow along, or you might be working, for example, with something like 2016 or 2017, one of the default themes from WordPress, and you want to create a child theme from scratch. So the way that you do that is within your themes folder in WP content, you create a new folder for your theme, call it something like Richter Child, as in this case, or 2017 Child if you're creating a child theme for 2017, or you might want to give it a more unique name. You might want to call it after the name of your own website or your own name. Just make sure that whatever you call it is different from the name of any other theme in your site. So don't duplicate the name of the theme that you're using as your parent theme. So here we've already got this folder set up, and there are a few files in it that I've already created, because you'll remember I warned you that I've already set up the code so that I don't make the mistake of live coding and putting a semicolon in the wrong place or something like that as we're going along. Now there is only one file in here that is absolutely necessary to create a child theme. And in a lot of cases, it's the only file you'll ever create, because all you want to do is tweak some of the styling. And that is the style.css file. So that's the style sheet for our child theme. Now let's take a look at the opening code in this. Ignore this down here, the styling that I've added. But first look at the commented out text. So most of this is the same as for a parent theme. Let me show you the style sheet for the Richter theme as well. So you can see a lot of that is very similar. Let me shut that down so I don't accidentally edit that one. Go back into the style sheet for the child. So you can see here the theme name makes it very clear that it's a child theme. So you can give your theme whatever name you want to. And I would strongly advise including in this name that it's a child theme. The URI for the child theme. So you can see here there's a URI for the developer of this theme. The author, which would be you if you're creating your own child theme. The author URI, which again would be your website if you're creating a child theme. It wouldn't be Theme Forest, but here it is Theme Forest because it's one of our sites, one of our themes, sorry. And then here's the description. So here the description duplicates the description from the parent theme. If you wanted to, you could change that to include the fact that it's a child theme. So under that, here's the really important line, and this absolutely has to be in any child theme that you create, and that is template. And it says template Richter, and that is the folder within your themes folder. Let's just close some of these up so you can see Richter. So you don't use the name of the parent theme, you use the name of the folder that it's in. And that is the essential line that you need, and that tells WordPress that this is a child theme. So using that, you could create a child theme using any theme you wanted as a parent theme. You're not limited to particular types of theme as parent themes. You don't have to use theme frameworks. You can use any theme that you either create yourself or you download. And as I said before, if you're downloading a theme from somewhere else and you want to make tweaks to it, using a child theme is by far and away the best way to do it, because you don't lose your changes when the theme is updated. So now we've got the version number, and I'll quickly run through these. We've got the license, the URI of the license, and the tags, and those are for use in the WordPress theme directory. So it's basically the same as any normal theme, but with this template line added in. So that's telling WordPress that this is a child theme of the parent theme Richter. So let's just go back to our site, and here is a site where I have activated the Richter theme. So here's the home page. This is actually, I've imported the content from my own site that's under development at the moment, which is needs a bit of tweaking to get it to fit properly in this theme, but it gives you a good idea. And what I'm going to do is take you to a category archive page, so you can see how some of the styling works in this theme. And one of the aspects of this theme is this orange styling. Now if you want to, you can tweak that using the theme settings in your admin screens, but I'm going to show you how you could do it instead using your child theme. So let's say your parent theme has a colour set up for buttons like this. Let's inspect the code that's output. So let's just go back here. Oh, here we go. Widget search button. So it's a button element inside an element with the widget search class. So I would copy that to add the styling to my theme for the background colour if I wanted to change that. So let's take a look back at this style sheet. Now, the way that you do this will depend on your theme. And if your theme, your parent theme that is, has most of its styling or all of its styling in the main theme style sheet, all you have to do is add styling to override it in your child theme style sheet. So, for example, the 2017 theme, that has the styling for the front end of the site in a style sheet, which I'm just opening and it's going a bit slowly, in this style sheet here. So if I wanted to override styling in 2017, I would just add duplicate, target duplicate classes, but add different styling in my child theme style sheet. Now, however, the Richter theme works a little bit different. So I'm going to take this out because that actually won't work. And I'll show you instead the functions file. So this is the functions file for my child theme. And what that does is it imports a style sheet that is present in the parent theme. And this is why there's a child theme already set up for Richter, so it does this correctly. So let me just show you the functions file for the parent theme as well. No, it's going to be somewhere else. I won't show you that. There's a lot of functions within that parent theme, but just for the sake of this demonstration, this is how it works. So you can see here that there's a style sheet being enqueued and being used in our child theme that is actually in the parent theme. And the reason we know it's from the parent theme is because it's using this get template directory URI function. If it was pulling that in from the child theme, it would use get style sheet directory URI instead. So what I can do is I can add another function that's a duplicate of this but calls a style sheet in my child themes assets CSS style.css file. So let me just go back a bit because I know this is slightly more complicated the way this theme is structured. If I show you the files in my child theme, I've created a CSS folder in assets, and within that I've created a style sheet. So let's go back to functions. Now I could duplicate this function and add a new one calling something from the child theme, but what I'm going to do instead is simply add WP and Q style for the child theme, and you can see here I am being brave and I'm live coding, and here we have get style sheet directory URI, and that is exactly the same. So I'm going to save this, and that will call, when the child theme is run, that will call this, let me find it again, this style sheet here. So let's close this other one down. Hang on a minute. No, I won't close it. Right. So this is the style sheet for the child theme. So I've commented here that it's the style sheet for our child theme, and that's the one that's being called by this function here. So I've already added my styling. I've put some commenting in so it wasn't working. So let me just comment that again and take you back to the site, and you can see if I close down the code here, you can see this is orange, this search box. Now I'm going to uncomment that, and I've changed the background to this value here. It doesn't need to be important, so I'll take that off, and that's a shade of blue. So if I save that and go back to my site and refresh it, again I'm live coding here, so let's hope it works. You will see, hang on, I think I need to clear browsing data. Bear with me a moment while I do this. Clear data. Now, so I'm back in here. I'll hit refresh, and let's just check whether that search button is now blue. No, it's not. Oh, I told you live coding would be risky. Right, let's add important again. Save it again, and then refresh. Okay, so I'm going to refresh my screen, and I'm going to check what's happening here. So let's take a look. Let me just check that I save that functions file, and let me just check the code that I created earlier on. Get style sheet directory URI assets CSS style. I'm going to call, because I already created this earlier to test it, I'm going to just change the name in case it doesn't like that, because it's a duplicate of something I was doing before. Let's just try refreshing. And inspect the code. Here we have button. So it's still giving me the background. Let's have a look at the style. Background, widget search button. Child assets CSS. Right, okay, I'm having a slight problem with this, which is the danger of live coding. Now, unfortunately, I tested this out about 2 hours ago and it worked absolutely perfectly. So this is very embarrassing for me. So I'm going to move on to having a look at functions, and I'm going to come back to this a bit later and see if I can fix it. So let's take a look at functions in parent and child themes. So here we're in the Richter child theme, and you can see we've got our functions PHP file. Now, apart from the style sheet, the functions file is the one that you're most likely to add. And that's because you might want to add additional functionality to your parent theme, to your child theme, sorry. So here, for example, you can see that we've got the Richter child scripts function added, and that includes enqueuing a style sheet. Let's get rid of that too, because that obviously didn't help us at all. That includes enqueuing two style sheets, the parent one and the child one, using get style sheet directory URI. I'm just checking the code here that I printed out earlier on, just to check I've got it exactly correct. And if you spot any problems with my code that might be causing this, please let me know. Right, so I'll save that again. So that's how you add a function to your child theme. And functions and styling work slightly differently in parent and child themes to each other. The main thing being that they fire in different order. So the styling in your parent theme will be loaded before the styling in your child theme. And that means that because of the way that CSS works, any styling for the same element provided by your child theme will override anything that is for that same element in your parent theme. So anything you add to your child theme will work, theoretically will work, and will override what's in your parent theme. And you don't need to worry about taking anything out of the parent theme. In fact, you absolutely should not edit the parent theme at all. That's really, really important principle of child themes. The whole point of a child theme is that you don't edit the parent theme, because if you do, you'll lose all your edits when you update it. Functions, however, work slightly differently, and the functions in your child theme are fired first. And this becomes particularly important when it comes to pluggable functions. And let's take a look at an example of one of these in the parent theme. So here there is an include file, and let me show you where it is in the structure of the parent theme, Richter. So in Richter's functions file, let's find that. There is a whole bunch of require once functions, and one of them calls hooks.php in the theme directory. So let me just close that. And then here in the theme directory, we've got hooks.php. So this is this file I'm in right now. And this, within this theme, Richter, is the one example I can find of a pluggable function. And you can see what this does is it checks whether a function already exists. Or specifically, it checks that it doesn't exist with this exclamation point here. So if the function Richter remove br breaks doesn't exist, it then creates a function with that name and then runs that function. And it's hooked it to two filters here. So if you create a function called Richter remove br in your child theme, that will fire first, and then the function in your parent theme will fire, i.e. this one. Now WordPress will get confused because there's two functions with the same name and it'll throw up an error, but because this is pluggable, what it's done is it's checked whether a function with that name has already been called, and in this case, because you've created a function with that name in your child theme, it has already been called. So because that's the case, it won't actually run this function in the parent theme. So you could duplicate this function in your child theme, and here's our functions file for the child theme, so you could copy it in there, edit the content to change it. So for example, you could replace, what this does is it removes any paragraph breaks or line breaks around shortcodes before the shortcode content is activated. So you can see why you've got these square brackets for the shortcodes and the paragraphs and breaks. So you could change that and replace it with something completely different if you wanted to. So that's how a pluggable function works within a parent and child theme. Now I'm just noticing on the comments here and the questions, somebody, Isaac, thank you. Isaac has suggested with my colour issue, have I checked if it's a specificity issue? I don't think it is. Let me go and look at the code again, because the thing we have here is it's the same widget search button, and if I copy that and paste it, it's the same. And we've got background, and I've got a different colour, and I've also added important. But what I am going to do to make it more specific is I'm going to have a look at what it's inside. So it's inside something called Widgets Box. So let's add that, because this might help. Oh, don't need Widgets Box last type. Just needs Widgets Box and just one full stop. Let's see if that works, see if we can make it more specific. So let's close that and try refreshing. No, it still isn't working. This is really frustrating because it was working for me an hour ago, and then I deactivated the code so that I could show you how it worked without it. And when I reactivated the code, for some reason it's not working now. Let me try opening a different category, see if that helps at all. Just wait a moment for the page to load, because what should happen is that that search box has got a blue background instead of an orange one, but for some reason it hasn't. So I'm going to go back to our functions, because if you remember, we just finished looking at pluggable functions. So I showed you how to add pluggable functions, or how to add a function in your child theme that overrides a pluggable function in your parent theme. So in your child theme, you don't worry about any of this. You just, let me show you. I would just add that. Add that because I need to include the add filter, because that's inside the if here. And I'll add that to my child theme. So that's another function within my child theme. And let's just rearrange my indents. So here, for example, I could remove the line break element of it. So that would then override this pluggable function here. Now, in the hour that we've got for this, I haven't got time to download some sort of shortcode plugin and demonstrate that. So bearing in, regardless of the fact that my styling didn't work and my code has failed there, please trust me, please believe me that this does work. I use pluggable functions a lot in my own parent themes, and I find them really useful. So this is how you would use a pluggable function in your child theme, by duplicating that function and editing it. Or alternatively, you could just have nothing inside it. You could just, in this case, you'd have return content, because you've got the content of the short code. I'm not going to complicate things too much, but you can edit that function and create your own. So let's go back to our list of what we're going to cover. So we've looked at what child themes are and when to use them. I've shown you how in the style sheet you create a child theme using that template line in the comments in the style sheet. I've shown you the functions.php file, I've shown you pluggable functions, and I've also gone over the order of firing. So just to remind you on that, the styles in your parent theme are loaded first and then the styles in your child theme, but with functions it's the other way round. Functions in your child theme are loaded first and then the functions in your parent theme. You can override that with a pluggable function. You can also override it by using priority. So here on add filter, for example, I could use 5 as a priority as the third attribute of the add filter function, which would ensure that that is fired before any other functions that are attached to this filter, Richter remove BR, and because if they've got default, that's just 10. So if this is blank, it defaults to 10. So if I add 5, that gets fired first. And that's a topic for a whole other day. It's quite a big subject. So the next thing that we're going to look at is I will show you how you create a duplicate template file. And you can use that to override a template file in your parent theme from within your child theme. So let's take a look. Firstly, before I look at the structure of the file, I'm going to open, let's go back to basics, and I'm going to open an individual post called new to WordPress start here. So in this individual post, at the bottom of it, there is a list of tags. And this is all provided via the single.php file within the parent theme. Now, let's say I want to add a heading here that says tags. I don't edit any of the template files in my parent theme. Instead, I want to create a duplicate template file in my child theme. But the first thing to do is identify exactly which file I need to create. So let's take a look at our theme structure again. So the theme template file we would be using for a single post within this theme is the single.php file. And here it is. You can see there's quite a lot in here and it depends on post formats. Now this one doesn't have a specific post format, it's just a standard post, so I can ignore all that up here. What I am looking at is this line here, get template part loop. So I then want to edit the loop file because the code to output this list of tags is actually in my loop. So here's my loop file. And this is in the parent theme again, remember. So I'm not editing this, I would be duplicating it. Now let's drill down in here and find the code that's outputting these template tags. So let's have a look. What we need here is another include file. So what we're looking at here is get template part templates content-single.php. And let me show you that in the structure of the file. Let me just check it's templates. So there's a templates folder here which has got all my template parts for the theme, and then what I'm looking for here is content-single.php. So here is the content single. So this is effectively the loop, because here we have some excluding and featured category variables that are being used, and we're checking the type of content that we're on, if it's single post or a page, and then we're fetching this template part. So this is actually the contents of the loop. So this is the code that is outputting these particular tags. Now let's scroll down because it's going to be near the bottom. It's quite a long file. Here we are. Div class equals block tags, and we can check that by inspecting the code. So we'll open up this single file again, and here we've got, let me show you. So you've got div class equals block tags. So now we know we're in the right file. So what we do is we need to create a duplicate of this file in exactly the same folder structure in our child theme. So in the parent theme, it's in templates, and then it's called content-single.php. So let me close up the parent theme so you can see the child theme. Here I've created a folder, and within that I've created a file called content-single.php. Now here I've duplicated the exact same content. I've copied the content from this one into this one. So you can see I'm in the child theme here. And it's always worth checking that you're working in the correct file and that you're in your child theme and not your parent theme. And you'll see that what I did then was I closed down the duplicate file in my parent theme so I could be sure I wouldn't have the problem of accidentally editing the wrong one, because I have done that in the past. I'm sure lots of people have. I will put my hand up and I'll say yes, I've done that. It's an easy mistake to make, so check before you start editing. So let's go down to the bottom and find this block tags. So here you can see, in the hope that this live coding works, I have commented it out and I've added an H3 tag with the word tags in it. Now if I want to do this properly, I'd use an internationalization function around it. But for now I've just put this in English. So I've removed the comments around it so this H3 will work. I'm going to save it, and then everybody watching this, cross your fingers as tightly as you possibly can. Let's hope that this works. Let's close that. We shouldn't be hoping. This will work because it worked for me before. Let's go down. Right. Okay, let me try. Yeah, this is something to do with my browser, because I was doing this earlier on another computer using Safari. So let's try clearing browsing data. I'll close down settings here, and I will open it up again. This is purely browser caching, I believe. I'm going to try opening this in another browser. And while I'm thinking about that, let's take a look if there are any questions. So we've got a question from Adam. How do I know what hooks and filters are available in a theme? Now, a well-written theme will have a README file. Let's see. This one hasn't got a README file. Let's take a look at 2017. README. So you can see here there's a readme.txt file, and if you download a theme from the WordPress theme directory, it will always have a README file or an equivalent to it. And that gives you information about the theme. Now here for 2017 there isn't actually a huge amount, but what you will find with themes that are designed to be used as parent themes, in other words theme frameworks generally, there will be documentation available to you. So if you use one of the popular theme frameworks, you'll find that there's documentation on their website that tells you what hooks and filters are available to you, what action hooks and filter hooks are available to you. Now let me find a good example of one that I know. Again, this is all live, so I'm trying to remember the name. Here we go. Now this theme Wonderflux is a free and open source theme framework, and I know it has documentation. Here we are, documentation right at the top. So up here there is a guide to all of the hooks. Now Johnny, who created this theme, tends to refer to action hooks as hooks and filter hooks as filters, but they're all in there, and functions are as well. And if you use a commercial theme framework, you will find that there's always documentation available for you, and it's worth checking that before you buy a theme framework. Now obviously if you're using any old theme as a parent theme, as you can do, the only way you've got of checking is in the README file if there is one. Now 2017 I know doesn't have any hooks at all, but it does have a lot of functions which could be documented here, but they're not. Unfortunately, the only way, like really reliable way I know of doing it, is by interrogating the code. So for example, if you're looking at, let's go back to our, hang on, let's just close that. If you're looking at your page, you'll remember that I inspected the code here to see what the specific element was that these tags were within. Now what I'd like you to do, actually, if there's anybody out there who fancies checking my styling, because I think this is a browser caching issue and I don't want to stop and take the time to try and set this up in another browser, try going to compass-hosting.co.uk/tuts+, and then go up in the menu and go on Basics, for example, or on one of the other categories, Essentials, Ultimate or Applications, and have a look at the search box. And if somebody can let me know if it's blue for them, I'd be very, very grateful. So I'm now going to move on to the next question. From David: would it be fair to say that for simple changes such as CSS only changes that you don't need a child theme and could use the customizer CSS panel to do this? Absolutely, yeah. Let me just have a look at the customizer for this site, I think because I refreshed earlier. This is just a temporary demo site, so the fact you know my username won't be a problem. So for this particular theme you can add additional CSS. That's another way to do it. Personally, I'm not keen on using the customizer or on using theme options pages, as some themes still do include, to add CSS, because often the way that they load the CSS is more convoluted. It'll go via various functions, and it won't be quite as straightforward. For me, I always prefer to use a child theme, particularly if I'm adding quite a lot of CSS. So, for example, I worked with a client recently and they had a small budget, so they just wanted to download, to buy an existing off-the-shelf theme and then tweak it. Now that theme did have some customization options, but the tweaks that they wanted were very specific, and we agreed that in order to be able to have more control over those, and also to be able to activate them in a way that may have gone above and beyond what the customizer allowed, because we also added some functionality as well and we created some extra elements, we decided to use a child theme. So for me, I like using child themes because it means my code is being loaded by WordPress as it should be. You don't always know how a theme has coded the addition of CSS in the customizer. It should be done in a fairly standard way using customizer functions, but sometimes it can be a little bit more convoluted. So it's up to you. It can be easier to do this. In fact, let's take a look. Let's cheat and see if it works, because if this doesn't work, that does mean it's my browser. So let's publish that, close it, go into the basics category. Oh, now it has worked. Right, okay. So the browser is not caching what's been done by the customizer, but it's definitely caching the other work that I'm doing through the theme files. It might be something to do with my hosting. Yeah, there we go. Purge cache. Right. Apologies everybody, I've just found how to fix the problem. Let's just get rid of that CSS in the customizer. This is the beauty of live coding. I knew it was risky when I agreed to do this. Let's get rid of that additional CSS so we don't muddy the waters by having more than one. Let's publish that. Let's go back to our site and let's open this individual page and let's cross our fingers again. New to WordPress start. Hit the search button is blue because I purged the cache. And down here we have that tags heading. So it's all working absolutely fine. So you can be reassured that the code that I've demonstrated to you does actually work. It's just that I was forgetful, and because I was coding live and talking at the same time as I was coding, I forgot that my provider, my hosting provider, SiteGround, caches content, and I need to purge that when I'm doing development work. Normally I don't do development work on a live site. That's what I'm doing here so that people can take a look at it themselves. Right, so we've now got some other questions. Right. A few people have asked about caching. You got there before me. You worked that one out before me. Well done. My styling changes. You see, this makes it exciting. This makes it probably the most exciting and nerve-wracking live coding live stream that you've ever seen. Or maybe not. But anyway, at least it's working now. We've got general jubilation in the live stream chat window. Thanks everybody. It's blue button for me now, says Deborah Edwards. That's great. Thank you. Right, so that is how you add styling. So we've added our blue button. How you add functions, because we use the function to call that style sheet that adds the blue button. And also how you add a new theme file. Now let's take a look at the theme template file, because what we did here was we simply created a duplicate of an existing template file. Now another thing you can do is you can make use of the WordPress theme template hierarchy to create a file that is even more specific. So let's take a look at Richter. So we've got category.php. Let's take a look at it. I'm doing this on the hoof here, so let's hope it works. I'll remember to purge my cache. So we've got, I'm going to do this in quite a rough and ready way. I'm going to copy all this, and I've got category, just category.php. Now let's take a look at the WordPress template hierarchy. Let's hope I've got the URL right. No, see? Google is your friend. Use Google to find the WordPress template. I like this. It's .com, not .net. WPHierarchy.com is a resource I use quite a lot. So I'm going to edit the a specific category. So category archive and then category slug.php. So let's go back into Coda and let's create a new file in our child theme. New file, category basics.php. And in there, I'm gonna paste everything from that category.php file from the parent theme. Now let's have a look. Let's just, for the sake of argument, I'm going to add a heading. up here. So this isn't something you'd necessarily do in real life, but this is to demonstrate to you that in order to, if you want to create a template file for a very specific element of your site and a specific content type using the theme hierarchy, if you create this in your child theme, it will override any template file from your parent theme that is, let's close that, that is further back in the template hierarchy. So say for example we've got category.php, and in the template hierarchy that fires if you haven't got any of these. But I've got this in my child theme. So if I was using my parent theme, it would use category.php. If I was using my child theme, it would use category basics.php, just for that particular file. So let's go back to basics. Remember, what do I have to remember to do? I have to remember to purge the cache. And there we are, here is my heading. So you can see how I've added that code. That's not the neatest thing you'd ever want to add. It's not necessarily something you'd want to do, but it just demonstrates how you can create not only duplicates of template files, but you can also create additional template files in your child theme that will override template files in your parent theme. Now if I go into another category archive, you'll see that this is using the normal category file, and I can show that by inspecting the code. So if we look at the body element, let's go all the way up. So you can see here that this is category, and it's category essentials. It doesn't actually show you which particular template file it's using, but by checking that you can use that. I could also use the ID if I wanted to. So if I close that and go back to basics, I think the ID for basics probably 1, but it might not. Let's inspect it. Personally, I find it better to use a slug when it comes to categories, because as long as you haven't got multiple users and you won't have people, oh, it's category 25, goodness me, not category 1 at all. As long as you know there won't be people changing the slug, which I would say is unlikely. People might change the name, but they're unlikely to change the slug because they might not notice that they can. You're safer using the slug. But if you think that somebody could change that slug in future, you can just use the ID to target it. So let's just go back. Hang on. So the hierarchy, you can see the ID is after slug. So slug overrides ID. So if I had one that was category basics and one that was category 25, the basics would win. So let's take a look. We've got about 10 minutes left now, so let's take a look if there are any other questions. Oh, we've got a question here about not making changes on live sites. What do I do instead? I mentioned before that the reason that I forgot that I had to purge the cache was because I was working on a live site here, so that you as viewers could take a look at the site at the same time that I'm working on it, but that I don't normally develop on live sites, and I'm not normally testing my code on live sites. That is because I normally work on a local site. So I normally use Mamp in order to install WordPress, and Mamp makes it possible for you to use PHP. Let me see if I can find... Sorry about this, I need to be able to touch type so I can look at you while I'm typing. I am in the process of learning to touch type, but I'm not fast enough to do it while I'm live streaming as well. So here we are, how to set up a WordPress development environment. This is for Windows, this one, but you can also find examples of them for Mac. Let's see if there's any links in here to one for Mac. That's using XAMPP. You can actually use Mamp for Windows now. This is quite an old one from 2011. Here we go. A local development environment. So this one, which I know is going to be high quality because it's written by Tom McFarlane, this one tells you how to set up your local development environment. And this is a longer course which gives you everything you need to do. This is about plugin development, but specifically within that, everyone, when you're developing plugins.
Introduction
hang
to
on,
WordPress
let me
plugin
just...
development. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at everything.
I'm going to close that window because it's auto playing the video, and that was Tom's voice. So yeah, I'll put the link up to that later on. So I've got another question here about category slugs. The category slug, does the category slug change if you change the category name? What about the ID? Now, my understanding is that the category slug, let's go back to our settings pages. The category slug doesn't change if you change the name, but the category ID definitely doesn't change. Now, let me test this with the category slug, because I have to admit that it's, yeah, see, the name and the slug are different. So I could change the name to basic and the slug wouldn't change. If I change the slug and I'm using a theme template file using that slug, so if I changed it to basic there, it would break. And, well, it wouldn't break, it would just revert to the next file up in the hierarchy. So it would use the category template file, the category.php, instead of category basics.php. So let me just change that back again. So that's the answer to that question. Let me just have a look if there are any other questions that I've missed while we were going through all the caching issues. All of the questions of people trying to help me out with the caching, and all it was just me being daft. Right, let's go back there. So just let's recap on what we covered. So firstly, we looked at what child themes are, and I told you when the best time is to use a child theme and what the difference is between a child theme and a parent theme. So some themes are designed to be used as parent themes, and that will include framework themes, and some themes, such as the one Richter that we've been working with, is designed to be used as a parent theme, but you can use it as a standalone theme if you want. And some themes aren't designed to be used as parent themes, but they're perfectly fine to use as parent themes. You can use any theme you want as a parent theme. And as I've demonstrated here, if you want to just make a few small tweaks to a theme, a third-party theme that you've bought from a provider or that you've downloaded from the WordPress plugin directory, the way to do that is to create a child theme of that parent theme and then to tweak using your child theme and not the parent theme. And the reason for that is because you'll lose any changes to the parent theme, the third-party theme, if you update it in the future. So that's when you use child themes. You also use them with a framework to add your own bespoke functionality and styling. I've shown you how to create a child theme, so let's go back to Coda, and there's a style sheet in here somewhere. So this style sheet here shows you how you've got the commented out text at the top here in the theme style sheet, which is almost identical to any other theme apart from this line here, template, and it uses Richter, which is the folder that your parent theme is in. So if I open the style sheet for that, you'll see here it's actually the same, capital R Richter. But if that theme name was different, Richter theme, for example, you wouldn't use that. You would use the folder that the template is in. And then once we looked at how to create a child theme by creating a new folder with that style sheet, we then looked at how you add functions. So within the functions file for our child theme, we edited an existing function that's already there in the child theme that was set up for us in order to import a style sheet from within the child theme. And you can see that get template directory URI refers to the parent theme and get style sheet directory URI refers to the child theme. And that gives you the URI for the folder that the theme is in. We then added another function here which takes advantage of the fact that there are pluggable functions in our parent theme. So this pluggable function here uses the exclamation point to check whether a function hasn't already been called from the child theme, because the child theme functions fire first before the parent theme, and if it hasn't, it would run this function from the parent. But because we've added this function and I've edited it and taken a couple of lines out in our child theme, that would be run instead. And after we looked at functions, we looked at styling. I don't think I should go over that in detail. Shall I go over it? Because that was the bit where we really had fun and things went a little bit wrong. But here, let's just recap on that. We use this styling here for our search button. So Widgets Box, widget search button. And I didn't actually need to add this, and I didn't need to add this, because I don't need the important because it's been added in the correct place, and it didn't need to be any more specific. But thank you for your suggestions and for trying to get me out of that hole. But I showed you how you can create that styling in your child theme that will override styling in your parent theme, because that is called afterwards. After we did that, we looked at template files. So we created, well, first we looked at our template file structure. We discovered that within the single .php file, there's a getTemplate part call for loop.php, and within that, there's another getTemplate part call for content single within the templates file. We duplicated that in our child theme, and remember that if you're working with a template part, all you need to duplicate is that template part. You don't need to duplicate the files further up in the hierarchy from it. WordPress is really clever like that. So even though it's calling this single .php file from the parent theme and then this loop.php file from the parent theme, it then looks in the child theme before the parent theme for the template part content single. And it does the same for both of them. So it'll look for single.php in both child and parent theme, only finds one in parent theme. Then it calls this, again looks in child and parent theme, only finds one in parent theme, and then again looks in both, and this time it finds one in the child theme. And we added this heading here, tags, which let's just take a look. We can see if I click on this individual post. Give it a moment to start up, and here's our heading, which we finally got working when I remembered to purge the cache. We then finally looked at how you can create a template file that, using the WordPress template hierarchy, will override a file that's, I'm not sure whether higher or lower in the template hierarchy. I guess lower in the template hierarchy is the right term. So you create a file that's going to be picked over and above another file that's in your parent theme, or indeed in your child theme, as in some cases. But here it's picking category basics.php in the child theme for my basics category, and I've got this heading, which is how you saw that code that I added to that file was pulled through to my site, and there it is in my category basics file. Now if I wanted to edit anything like the loop in that, I would need to create a specific instance of the loop in my child theme. So here I might create a loop basics, so that would then look for a loop-basics.php in either of the parent or child theme, child first. And if I created one in my child theme that was a duplicate of loop but with something slightly different in, it would use that instead. I don't have time to show you that because according to my clock we've got 1 minute left. So I'm just going to check whether there are any final questions, which there aren't. But before I go, I just want to let you know about a live stream that's running on Tuts Plus tomorrow on Bootstrap, which Adie's running. And that will be showing you all about Bootstrap 4 and teaching you how to use that. As it says here, it's one of the most popular front-end frameworks for web designers, and version 4 has just launched, so Adie's going to walk you through exactly how to use that. That live stream is completely free, and it's running a little bit later in the day. It's running at 6 p.m. GMT, which is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you watch that if that interests you as well. And I'd like to thank you very much for watching this live stream on, I've forgotten what it's on now because I'm thinking about Bootstrap. This live stream on creating child themes for WordPress. Thank you for your patience, and goodbye.